Still weird.
Yeah.
I'm Courtney.
I'm Melissa. Still weird. Yeah.
Just checked in. Still weird. Thanks for joining us for episode 3. You must like us.
Yeah, unless this is the first episode people are watching. In that case, welcome.
Welcome. You missed a lot. You should go back.
You should go back and listen to 1 and 2. I always listen to podcasts sequentially, but I don't know if everyone does that. You might just listen to the most recent episode and decide if you like us.
Also, if you're like an avid follower of 3 episodes, we're very follower friendly, and we like to see your talents, and we like to see your thoughts and contributions, and we want you to be a part of this. So, we're going to have a little bit of a talent show segment coming up, so send us all your things that you're proud of, and we'll give you a shout out because we like you.
Art, music, just like a cool trick you can do.
Don't abuse your bodies though, please.
Yeah, safety
we like
first.
To stay healthy.
Safety first.
Stay weird, stay healthy.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into our first segment.
Friends and followers! So here's where we talk about people and things that we love that we think you'll love. My first one is Candy Funhouse. This is an account on social media. They are actually like a big candy warehouse, and they just sell candy online. But they have creators who really get candy, you know what I'm saying? And they really are very sensory oriented, and so all their videos, they show you all the textures and all the colors, and they have really fun creative ways of putting candies together and using them. And the girls that run it are really fun. Also, they were hiring for a candy taste tester. The official job title is Chief Candy Officer, and they had, I think they have millions of applicants because it went viral. Yeah. And I actually got chosen for an interview and did an interview, and now I'm up for a second interview.
What?
So shout out to Candy Funhouse.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I think I'm pretty made for this this position here, so fingers crossed.
You love candy. I would be terrible at that job because, one of the reasons I'm not super into candy is because I can't tolerate a lot of sweets, quantity-wise. So, if I eat ice cream, I'm eating, a bowl, a tiny, it's half a cup is a serving. That's literally how much I'm eating because, past that, I'm just So I wouldn't be a good candy testing officer, or what was it called?
Chief Candy Officer.
Chief Candy Officer.
It's an executive position.
Give me chips. I'll taste chips all day, though.
Oh, really?
I could be chief chip tasting officer. I will probably go follow that, though, because it sounds very nice and, colorful and...
it's very joyful.
ASMR-y.
Yeah, if you're a candy face like me and you just want to order a bunch of cool, weird candy, that's where to do it.
That's where to go. All right. My first person for today is someone who I follow on Instagram, but her name on there is Tardibabe. It's Tardibabe. And I found her because I love tardigrades. If you don't know what tardigrades are, they're also called water bears. I actually have a tardigrade sticker on my water bottle. They look like this. They look like a tiny little... I could go on.
Aren't they the only...
They're an extremophile.
What is that?
So they can live in extreme conditions. They sent tardigrades to space, and they were just, chilling, and they came back, and they were like, that was cool. We were just outside in space, and we're still alive.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty tough little guys, or girls, or genderless beings.
I remember something about being, the oldest creatures on Earth or something, or the most unevolved, or something like that.
I don't know if they're the oldest, but they're really cool. I could do a whole info dump on tardigrades, but we won't do that right now. So Tardibabe is this woman on Instagram who she focuses a lot on tardigrades, on microscopes. Oh. So she has a lot of really cool, they're very colorful microscopic images of tardigrades just swimming around and doing their things, and they're so cute. But she also does a lot of other cool microscopy of here's what beer looks like under the microscope. Here's what pond water looks like under the microscope. Here's what this looks like. And she does it in such a way that it looks almost like art. It's really cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
I'm hoping she's not the one that ruined blackberries for me.
Oh, what happened with
because I love blackberries so much. I'll take a full trip to go blackberry picking in the summertime. Okay. I love blackberries. And then I came across a TikTok where whoever she was, stuck one under a microscope and there was worms on it.
Oh, no.
And I was like, yeah, thank you for that.
That doesn't sound like a thing Tardibabe would do. I don't think it was her.
Good. Okay. So she doesn't ruin you on things.
She keeps it positive. Yeah. She doesn't ruin you on things. She's just look how cool this looks.
My second one is, I don't know what their official name is. Their subtitle is Dopamine Dressing. The username is D_O_W_K. So DOWK. But what it is a dress company. They make custom dresses, but these dresses are so dopamine-y. Rainbows and bright colors and like sunshiny, springy. The girls that they have on there have actual rainbow hair, and the dresses work perfectly with it. The only bummer is that I believe they're in Australia, and they don't ship to the US yet.
Oh, sad.
I know, it's very sad.
I feel like we're on episode 3, but we can already kind of show our distinct dress differences because I'm very like muted. I like dark colors. I like black and gray and everything, and you're very colorful and you're like candy and dresses, and I'm like
you can definitely
Dark
tell.
Lord. No, I'm just kidding.
You can definitely tell which one of us is understimulated and which one is overstimulated.
Very
Just
true.
generally speaking.
Generally, clothing wise at least. Okay, my second one is Brave Dave on TikTok. I freaking love this guy.
He and I are good friends. Yeah, we've done some collabs together.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
him.
Okay.
He's so much fun.
He's hilarious, and his content just like speaks to my soul. He did a TikTok recently about being at someone else's house or like staying at someone else's house and all the things that go along with that, all of like the thoughts that you have and the worries and the da-da-da-da. And I was just like, oh my God, how are you like the same as me? I feel like a lot of us neurodivergents, when we watch other people make their content, it's like, oh my God, there's another person out there who's just as weird as I am about this kind of stuff. Brave Dave on TikTok. He's so funny.
He has kids, so he has like the parent struggle.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. And I also like his he has very subtly political segments that just show like some of the ridiculous perspectives out there where people judge other people, and it's like, why are you doing that, man? But he does everything in such an engaging, hilarious way that he's very entertaining.
Yeah, he's
and just a good guy. Like if you talk to him, he's real chill.
He seems like a great guy. Yeah, we should have him as a guest sometimes.
Yeah. Because most of his things halfway speak to me. Mostly because I'm not a parent, and I don't have some autistic stuff that he has. But there was one where he really hit the nail on the head recently. I'm trying to remember. Oh, watching TV.
Oh, I saw that one.
Like where you can't sit still, but like, and if someone's talking to you, you're like, which one are we doing here? Wait, we gotta choose one. But at the same time, like, I'll be looking at my phone while I'm watching TV, and that's fine.
Or when he's like, at the beginning of the video, he's like, oh, we're gonna watch a movie, okay. Oh, you have subtitles on already. Oh, I knew you were cool, or something like that. And I was like,
yes.
Oh yeah, I watch everything with subtitles.
Yeah, it's so funny to think as a kid, like, I hated subtitles because it's so funny how this, like, language processing thing has affected me. Because words to me are very difficult because they're just symbols, and they give me no dopamine. And so my brain just hates words because they're just sounds and symbols. It doesn't want to attach meaning to them. So when I was first learning to read, it was so tedious and I hated reading. And during those silent reading sessions, I didn't read. Are you kidding me? I was off in La La Land. But now, because of the audio processing, I have to have the subtitles on because otherwise I'm like up and down with the volume because I can't hear what they're saying. They're all whispering, and then suddenly there's explosion sounds that make me freak out.
Yeah, I can't ever tell what anyone's saying on shows. I'm just like, what? Are they speaking English? I don't understand this at all. I need if the words are at the bottom, I can hear. It's weird. I'm like, this helps me to be able to hear what they're saying. I'm like, oh, I understood that perfectly. Right. It's very weird.
Yeah. It's also healthy. It actually helps your brain. It helps the auditory processing. Yeah. So you want to. It's a healthy thing to do. Don't think like, oh, well, I gotta, condition myself. No, it's actually the opposite. If you see the words while you're hearing them, it exercises your brain.
I love words, by the way. I actually have a note in my phone that is just a list of all my favorite words.
There's some that are fun because they are what they sound like, or they're fun to say, but for the most part, if I see a lot of letters together, I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah. So today we're talking about some things that are a little controversial in the neurodivergent world. Some of you may love them, some of you may hate them. And we're going to talk about that love-hate relationship of things like routine and scheduling and lists. I know that in the ADHD world, anybody who mentions the word planner can kindly fuck off because we all have tried hundreds of planners. I don't understand why people think that we've never tried a planner and mentioning it to us is going to blow our minds and change our lives. Like we had no idea that planners existed. But stop suggesting that, please.
I mean, I understand how that would be annoying. I personally live by a planner, a calendar, a schedule, a list, all of the things. I love a spreadsheet. I love a plan. It's just like all good.
Hold you together like glue.
I know many neurodivergent people who feel the opposite about those things, where, like I mentioned to you recently, that my son has ADHD and he like can't deal with a list. A list stresses him out. He looks at the list and he's like, this is too many things and I don't know where to start and I don't know where it ends and I don't know how.
It makes you spin out of control and get paralyzed.
Yeah.
That's the executive dysfunction. That executive dysfunction, man, it'll paralyze you pretty quickly. One of the tools I've learned for executive dysfunction, particularly the big one, is like house cleaning. Like you're just like, I don't even know where to start. The one thing that I do is like, I'll pick one thing. Doesn't have to be important at all. It could be the smallest, most insignificant thing. I don't care. Just pick one thing and do it, and that will give you momentum to do other things. Lists. I love lists, and I'll make a million lists. Will I reference them? Sometimes. Will I see them all the way through? Never.
Okay.
But they're helpful for me to organize my thoughts. I think that's one of the best tools for me to just kind of like get past the overwhelm, is I have to do a brain dump on paper. I have to see what's in front of me. Because if I'm just like, oh, there's that, and there's that, and there's that, and that, it feels infinite, you know? Unless I actually put it on paper and go, there's a start and an end, and if I just dedicate enough time to it, it'll be done.
Yeah.
You know, it gives me that resolve, that finality.
The only thing about lists that sometimes trips me up is I sometimes will get stressed out if I can't get everything on the list done, like if I don't have time. So I'll make a list. And I'll know, like, when I'm making the list, like, these aren't all things that I have to do today, but I will sit down with my calendar and I will look at the tasks on the list and I will assign the ones that I'm not able to get done that day. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to write this on my task list for tomorrow and I'll put this one on for the next day. And then this one I can do tomorrow too. So then I'll like assign it to different days and then I'll be like, okay. And then I can relax because it's in writing assigned to a different day.
Yeah, that's great. I have something similar too. So I will say that the list thing really became a game changer with technology. So the fact that I have my phone, because back when we didn't have our phone in our hand all the time, I'd make a list on paper and I would just leave my list everywhere and I'd be like, well, so much for making that list. It's not helpful now. Well, now, not only do I have my phone and I can just open like Google Keep and just open a new file and do a list of this. Sometimes I'll do just random list of like, oh, business ideas, brands of wine that I like, you know, so it's an ongoing list that's categorized that I can add to and adjust. And access from other devices. And I've integrated everything with my Amazon Echo. So one day I went online and I bought a bunch of these Echo dots that were used for like $10, and I put one in every room. And so now, even if I don't have my phone on me, I'll just say it out loud. Hey, I'm not gonna say her name. Hey, Melissa.
Unless that's her name.
Hey, Echo. Put garbage bags on the list. Or I'll even put a reminder. She does reminders too. I'll be like, hey, remind me in 3 months to change the bleach tablets in the toilet. So that's been tremendously helpful. And I do still need like a technology coach to help me like integrate all of my devices and all of my apps and show me all the features in these things that I'm missing out on. Because when I get a piece of technology, I get totally overwhelmed. I'll just use it for the one main thing that I got it for and ignore all the other features. And that's why I have 8 billion photos on my phone in a whole bunch of randomly automated albums. So it becomes a big mess after a while, but the technology has really helped us.
Yeah. So this is another way that we differ. I have to write down my lists on paper because for me, if it's in my phone, I have a calendar on my phone. So I tried going that direction for a while, but I kept missing things because I would forget to look at my calendar. Same thing with a to-do list. I'm like, I just forgot I had a to-do list. Like, I didn't think about it. And when it's sitting on my desk where I sit every morning, my calendar's sitting here and my to-do list is sitting right next to it. And there's just something satisfying about being able to visualize everything all together, not having to like flip back and forth between things and like crossing things off or writing things in different colored pens and like highlighting. Like, it's a very like immersive experience for me. So I'm like, shoot, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go over to like the technology side. I don't know how it would ever work for me. I totally get that. And there is a level of like, I hate reading a book on my phone. Like I need to engage physically with it. And there are some things that I need to write just to like kind of just hash it out. So I totally get that. And my workaround is I'll take a picture so that I have it on my phone, you know, in case I need to reference it when I'm away from wherever I wrote it. Got it. And then all my reference photos go in one album. Theoretically. Yeah, also I have a theoretically too, because I was like, oh, well, I'll just keep my paper calendar, but add everything into my Google Calendar as well. But that task never happened.
No.
So I was like, yeah, I'll add that to my Google Calendar, and then I never
Totally.
do. Yeah, and then I'm just like,
You know,
at the
me
doctor's
with
office.
the ADHD.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll totally do that. The biggest thing that I do as an ADHD coach is that I teach you to, instead of having neurotypical expectations of yourself, like, oh, I'm totally going to do that, and then seeing yourself not live up to it and feeling shitty, what I do is help you work with your brain. Look at the unique way that your brain works, and let's go with it, and let's use that in a way that will get you to do something. So, for example, one of the videos I made very early on was fascinating because I realized that everybody visualizes the week differently, and time and the calendar and the years. And so I had this exercise with my followers where I was like, hey, I'm going to draw my visualizations of the week, the days, the seasons, the year, my lifetime, age. And so it's really funny to think about like how I see age is like, I see kindergarten here in first grade, and then I see third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, high school, and then college, and then my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, it's like, it's all like spatial for me. So long story short, one of the first things that I do with my clients, if they do like planners, but they just can't like stick to one, is we'll design one that fits perfectly for your brain. Like, how do you visualize the week? And what's the block here that's keeping you from referencing this all the time? Is it because it's not with you all the time? Is it because it's a physical thing and you need something digital that's with you all the time? Like for you need the physical thing, but it's not with you all the time. So we take a picture, you know, so you always have it on you. Is it because you forget? Well, okay, every Sunday at 6:00, you have a set appointment where you need to do your planner thing, you know? So we just work with your brain to see where are the blockages here and how can we use that to make this actually an effective tool.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there's been many ADHDers who have come up with like ADHD friendly planners, and I think they're good. But so far there hasn't been any that are so customizable that they would work for everyone. Yeah. But they've been, you know, a little bit more outside the boxy, so they have fit a lot of neurodivergent people's brains a little bit better than a traditional planner. But yeah, so what I do currently is I design my own calendar in just a Google document, and I have an ongoing list, and I will just pluck things from my ongoing list into days. And so I'll have my whole calendar in front of me that's just constantly changing every day, and I will reference back to it as things change throughout the day. So it's always a tab that's open on my computer, and let's face it, I basically live on my computer. So throughout the day, as things are changing, I'm just moving things around and updating my list and putting things on my to-do list and putting them here and there, and oh, this changed, so I'm moving it over here.
Interesting. I like that. You know that seeing time in like a particular structural way in your mind's eye is a very neurodivergent thing, and not everyone has that. It's a type of synesthesia. I did a whole episode on my other podcast about that because there are some people who don't, just like some people who don't have an internal monologue, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit too. Sorry.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have times when we are you get a song stuck in your head, right? And you're hearing the words going on in your head. Like there's definitely times when you have a monologue like happening, or when you forget a word, you're like, you know, you don't have a monologue going, obviously, because you can't get that word. If you had an internal monologue, you would have gotten that word, you know? Yeah. The word would have been there for you to use. So I don't know. I don't think it's so cut and dry.
Maybe it's not so cut and dry, but I've definitely talked to people who do not visualize time in any sort of fashion like that, where they just don't even understand that concept. They're like, what do you mean? My partner Gray being one of them, which my partner Gray is neurodivergent, but they also have aphantasia. Where they have a difficulty visualizing, like in their mind's eye, like any sort of like imaginative thing. So, like for instance, we could do a whole like episode on this. It's very interesting.
Dude, that's the opposite of me. I can't get out of my. I
visualize everything.
Visual.
Same.
Daydreaming.
Yeah.
I have maladaptive daydreaming where I'm just off in La La Land all the time, like visualizing.
It is the opposite of that. One of the things that is hard for them is reading books because they literally cannot visualize what's. I have another friend too, RJ, who has the same thing where if I'm reading a book, I'm visualizing what every character looks like, their hair color, what they dress like, even if it's not described for me in the book, I know what the place looks like, I know what it smells like, I know like my imagination is so in depth. For me, I'm like, if there's a movie in a book, I want to read the book first, see the movie second. For them, they're like, I want to see the movie first. Then when I read the book, I can know what everyone looks like and what everything looks like because I can't make it up myself.
Okay, I would challenge it a little bit because they're a tattoo artist. So you got to be able to visualize something before it's art.
Right.
And I have a terrible time with that. I cannot do art.
But you have a good imagination, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know if imagination has to do with artistic ability.
But you have to see the thing before you're able to...
I think it's more about, like, visualizing in a more, like...
Yeah, it may be just more of the extreme. They don't go that far with
exactly.
it. Yeah, like they only have
like
from here to
like
here.
a singular thing, but it's not like a story or like...
It's not as elaborate for them.
As elaborate, yeah. But also to the extent where they very rarely have dreams. Or if they are dreaming, and same with my other friend too.
I wonder if that, because we were talking about how I dream too much, right? How I have a sleep disorder where I'm in REM sleep too much. Like I'm actually dreaming as I'm falling asleep to where I mix it with reality. And I'm hardcore, intense dreams to where when I wake up, I feel like I just lived a whole other life. And that's every night, unmedicated. Medicated, I'm totally different. But unmedicated, in my natural state, I like live another lifetime in my sleep. And that's not normal or healthy. It's actually a sleep disorder. But I, again, am super daydreamy, super on the opposite end, visualize everything. So I wonder if that has to do with something about how the brain works and...
Oh, it has to, because I'm the same way. I'm a very imaginative, daydreamy type of person in the daytime, and I've always been a super vivid dreamer. I always remember my dreams when I wake up. I always think like, yeah, I don't think I have it to the extent that you have it, but I always have... I can remember certain dreams that I had when I was like growing up that were really like just impacted me, and I still to this day remember those dreams. So there's got to be a correlation.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a very visual thinker when it comes to things like time. How you said how you really just like, oh, my 20s are here, my 30s are here. Mm-hmm. Mine is linear. I think of it in a long line. Like I see my year of birth and I see now, and I see it in like chunks. It's very weird.
It's also hard for me to grasp because that's how my memory works. Like, how do you access your memory if it's not all laid out for you that way? You know, how do you retrieve things if you don't have a reference, you know? So, let's see, we did planners, routine.
Yeah, are you a very routine-oriented person?
My whole life, have been highly allergic to routine.
Okay.
It makes me scream and cry and stomp my feet, and I want every moment of my life to be different from the next, and I want my life to be full of adventures and all types of different experiences. Now, that said, my life is chaos. I have a disaster of a life of 38 years worth of hyperfocuses and hobbies that never got sewn up. They're all just like lingering in various states of unfinishedness. So when I got with my current boyfriend, who I believe is more on the autism side, he is much like you in like tendencies, the way we differ, very much more on your end. More very easily overstimulated, likes the muted tones, likes the darker, morbid movies and shows, gets very overstimulated socially very easily. The perfect storm for me was I love him and I love being around him. And I'm one of those people that sometimes I get described as codependent because I just always want to be around people. And if it's my best friend or if it's my boyfriend, I'm just Velcro to them. I just like being around them all the time. I really think it's just from being understimulated, and human connection is part of my stimulation, and I just want to be a part of whatever somebody's doing all the time. So if he's sticking to a strict routine and I want to be with him all the time, I'm also sticking to a strict routine. But you're not telling me I'm sticking to a strict routine. You're just telling me that I'm hanging out with my boyfriend. Yeah. So it's a hack. It's a way for me to get structure in my life, hold myself accountable, and actually see a pattern of growth without telling me you have to stick to a pattern and me going, no!
Yeah, I love routines. I have some very specific routines that are very integrated into my daily life that, like, if they get missed, it's fine, but nothing feels right after that. Like, I have a very specific morning routine, I have a very specific nighttime routine. Those are the 2 times of day that it's, like, really important to me. But then there are certain things like throughout the day too that are like built in. It's just sort of like, I didn't really realize how routine oriented I was until I started looking at autism, and I was like, oh my God, like I really am. So it's just always been how I am. So I didn't really think that there was anything odd about it.
Routine has been one of the best tools for a few specific things for ADHD. Number one being medication. Mm-hmm. So the big narrative is like, oh, ADHD meds are so addictive. And we're like, I forget to take my meds. What do you mean addictive?
Yeah.
And we all have a struggle of like, we don't take it at the same time every day. It's hard to actually track what the meds are doing because we can't get ourselves to be on some sort of consistent routine because we're not medicated. It's like you have to be medicated to remember to take your medication at the same time every day. So the way that got resolved for me was, again, I had this inherent routine that was attached to my boyfriend's routine. It starts with the night before. So I now take a sleeping pill. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a problem sleeping before I was on Adderall, but now that I'm on Adderall, I'm like an insomniac, and it's a very standard stimulant side effect. So now I just take an over-the-counter sleeping pill every night. I have my Echo, who reminds me every night at 9:30 to take it. It is nicely packed in a pill case by the day on my nightstand. I take that sleeping pill. I have another alarm that wakes me up at 6:30. I get up. I go downstairs and feed my dogs. I'm never going to forget to feed my dogs. My dog is whining at me. It's the first thing I do when I get up because the dogs need to eat. So I immediately go downstairs and I feed the dogs. Guess what's right next to the dog food area? My morning pills. Because I need to see that this is part of my routine. So I don't ever forget. I'm always feeding the dogs and I always have my pills right there. And then every Sunday at 11 o'clock, I have another alarm that goes off that tells me to refill my meds. So I have that routine of filling my meds, and then I put it in the advantageous places where I know I will be every morning and evening. And that keeps me on pace. Because if you just rely on, like, if you just keep all your pills in a bottle, even when you open the cap, you're going to be like, did I take this or not? Shoot. Oh, no, I can't take two. What do I do?
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, I never really thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's if you do remember. That's if you do remember to actually take them.
Good pro tips. Yeah, I don't have problems remembering that. Probably stuff like that. Probably because it's like even if I were to get like a new medication, I would just once it's into my routine, it's like in there. So it just like doesn't. I don't know. If it's part of my routine, it just doesn't get forgotten. And I think that's also why like the morning and evening routines are very important because they do have like a lot of the important tasks of the day built into them. I eat the same meal every morning. I prepare it the same way. I sit in the same place at the table to eat it. I use the same plate. I use the same kind of fork. I watch the same thing while I'm eating. Like it's very much same time, same. And of course I can't always do that. If there's days where that routine has to get skipped, like I said, I don't like melt down or anything, but it's just like, it's really sad and disappointing. I just feel like the rest of my day is not right. And then sometimes things like do get forgotten because it's like, oh, I didn't do this thing, so in turn I didn't remember to do this thing because those things always come next to each other.
As you were describing that, it occurred to me that that is a very soothing thing for those people who have childhood trauma of having a very unstable childhood. Mm-hmm. Because, let's face it, people who have ADHD parents probably were a little unstable and had a very unstable upbringing. Were a little chaotic. Mm-hmm. We're also prone to addiction. There are a lot of ADHDers who had very tumultuous upbringings and they never felt stability. And if you keep to the same routine every day, that's kind of a self-soothing way of being like, hey, everything's fine. We're cool. Your world isn't going to get uprooted. We're still doing the same thing every time. We're safe. One reason I'm a very big advocate for routine is because it kills task dread. So task dread, some people call it procrastination, but I think that has a gross connotation. Mm-hmm. Procrastination implies that you're like apathetic. We're not apathetic. We want to do the thing. We physically can't. We're dreading it to the point of paralysis. And the thing is, if you just put it on a routine, you stop having to decide to do it. And the dread comes from, hey, should I do this thing? Well, how do I feel about it? I hate it. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. When it's routine, you cut all that out. You're doing it, period. That's it. There's no, do I like it? There's no, am I going to do this? It's just, you're doing it. This is what we're doing today. Boom. Takes all the emotion out of it, takes all the dread out of it. Mm-hmm. So it's been way easier for me to hold myself to my gym routine because I no longer dread the gym. I'm just going. That's all.
That's part of the routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just fact now.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I do get task dread a lot. This segues perfectly into another thing I wanted to talk about is scheduling things. Because for me, scheduling things is really hard and it is a task that I dread. Even though I love to live by a list and a plan and everything, I love planning things. But scheduling things and planning things are two different beasts. Like say I have to schedule a doctor's appointment. which I do. Okay. I do actually have to schedule a doctor's appointment right now. I've been putting it off.
Dude, that's the worst.
It's the worst for so many reasons.
I will put that off more than anything.
Yeah.
It's doctor appointments.
I have to go because I'm taking a trip overseas in June and I need to get Xanax for the plane. I won't take the Xanax. I know myself already. I need to have it so I don't need it.
Yes. You're gaming Murphy's Law. I do that all the time.
If I don't have the Xanax, I will be panicky as fuck. If I have the Xanax, I'm gonna be fine because I know I have it there in case I need it. Me and Greg call it my comfort Xanny. So anyway, I need to go to the doctor and get my comfort Xannies for the trip. So I have my to-do list on Post-it notes that are about this big, and they look like index card. They're index card Post-it notes. They're really cute. And so as tasks get crossed off, you start a new list, and everything that's still on the old list, you move to the new list. That task has moved through like 6 lists now because I keep just like not doing it. I'm like, okay, call the doctor. Definitely gonna do that tomorrow.
That's what I call one of those top of the meds tasks. It's like when my meds are running high, that's when I do that thing because that's when I have the courage.
I'm not on the meds. Maybe that's the problem. But part of the dread of scheduling an appointment is, for one, just having to call the place and talk to the person. Places that have online scheduling platforms are like, can we just all do that? Why can't doctors' offices do it?
Yes.
Why? I don't need to talk to the receptionist.
You're just giving goosebumps up to my cheeks.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Let me schedule my shit online. This is the same for when I'm like researching a business and they don't have an email address or any pricing info or anything online.
Call for a quote. Yeah, I'm just not gonna.
You lost my business.
Yep.
You lost every neurodivergent person's business. No one is calling you to get a quote. Put your prices on your website and give an email or like a chat or something.
Yeah. I
will be your customer, I promise. So there's the task of calling the place to talk to the frickin' person who I don't want to talk to, but also deciding when will be an okay day for me to be able to go to the doctor. Because I look at my calendar and I'm like, I know what days I have time. That's not the issue.
You don't know what mood you're going to be in, what the weather's going to be. What did I eat? Is my car going to be working?
Yeah. The variables of the day. Like, I know if I wake up one morning and I feel like going, I'm like, oh, today would be a good day for me to go to the doctor. But you can't call the doctor and be like, can I come in today? And they're like, sure. No. And with my doctor, she's so busy that I have to schedule it like a couple of weeks in advance, unless it's like an emergency. But Comfort Xanny isn't an emergency. It might be if I wait long enough and I'm like the day before I'm going to England and I'm like, I need my doctor. But then she'll just be like, tough luck. So 2 weeks in advance, I don't know I'm going to feel that Wednesday. But the appointment is set. And I can't miss an appointment. I'm not an appointment canceller or rescheduler because I feel so bad.
Same.
I like get the cancellation or rescheduling guilt, so I just have to drag myself in. So just the dread of like not knowing how I'm going to feel that day and having that task on my calendar, and then from the moment I schedule it till the moment that day comes, it's running in the back of my mind that I have that doctor's appointment coming up. So it's like the being in waiting mode, but for like 2 weeks straight, where I'm like, I got that doctor's appointment in 9 days.
Yeah. Someone's like, hey, can we go out on Friday? And you're like, no, I have that doctor appointment in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, and always when I'm scheduling something, I have to think about what's going on the day before and the day after. Because I'm like, what if something's happening the day before and I'm not going to have the energy the next day, or like the bandwidth or the spoons or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Or like, what if the doctor appointment puts me in a place where it's like the next day I can't have anything important going on. It's just like it's a whole thing where I'm just like.
And this is why I say that ADHDers have so much anxiety, is because all of those little variables and all the adjacent things, all the what ifs, give us tons of anxiety because they're eating at our subconscious and using up our brain power. Here's my fix for that. And this works for hoarding too. I hoard things because of what if. Like, what if I need this jar? What if I never find another shirt like this? What if this comes in handy? And so what I do for the what if syndrome is I trust future Courtney. The schedule, it's flexible. If something happens, you can move it. You can cancel it.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's not the end of the world. Things happen all the time and things get moved all the time. Look at COVID. Mm-hmm. COVID interrupted a whole bunch of stuff that we were pretty sure was like set in stone, right?
Yeah, the entire world shut down.
Right. Yeah, there are extenuating circumstances and people adapt. We'll adjust. Future Courtney will adjust. Mm-hmm. So yeah, with the doctor's appointment, like, how am I going to feel? Just schedule the damn appointment, and if something comes up, it's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. You can move it. With my schedule that's on the calendar that I'm moving shit around all the time because, hey, today wasn't a good day for that. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Yeah. It always gets to that point where finally I'm like, oh my God, I've been worrying. I don't even care anymore. I've been worrying about scheduling the appointment for so I'm like sick of myself. I'm just going to freaking schedule it so I can stop worrying about it. So I do get to that point eventually, usually. But that's just like triggered another weird like tangent in my mind. Okay, so I'm starting a new job soon. I just had to fill out all my pre-employment paperwork and everything where you have to disclose if you have a disability. Or you don't have to. They give you an opportunity to disclose if you have a disability. Which I never do. I don't feel comfortable. This is a whole other topic that we're not going to go into right now. I don't feel comfortable disclosing any sort of stuff like that to an employer. I just feel like discrimination is real. And even though they say they don't discriminate, if you say you have autism or you're autistic, people look at you different. I know that for a fact. Majority of people view you differently.
Right. And just because the manager who's currently in power doesn't, maybe the next one will, like, or maybe they tell somebody else who did.
Yeah, so being a nurse in the healthcare field, like, you can't have people questioning your competence. And a lot of people view autism as some sort of intellectual disability or like an incompetency of some sort, sadly, but it's true. All that to say, there's the thing that you fill out and it's like, do you have a disability? And there's a list of disabilities of like examples of disability. First thing is autism. Then there's a bunch of other stuff. There's like migraine headaches on there considered a disability, cancer, like all this stuff. ADHD is not on there.
That's under the ADA. It is an official disability, folks.
And I'm like, is it not considered a disability? Is it?
It definitely is, yeah.
Okay. So maybe it just, so that was my question. I don't know if you do this or not, because it wasn't on that list, but I'm like, this is just an example list. I don't feel like it covered all disabilities.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I feel like if autism's on there, ADHD should be on there too, because they're very similar in so many ways. So ADHD is considered by the ADA a disability. Okay, good, because I'm like, if it's not, it should be. And I don't think disability is like a dirty word or anything. Like, I don't think that
it's a whole spectrum too. Like, yeah. I got a couple of trolls that were like, tell that to my husband who's in a wheelchair. And it's like, I'm not comparing myself to your husband. We both have disabilities. They're very different and very different extremes, and they're totally separate. They just both inhibit our daily lives. That's all.
Well, that person's husband in the wheelchair, assuming they don't have ADHD, can do a lot of things that you can't do.
Yeah.
Easily. You know, it's just like a different kind of disability.
Right.
It's scheduling. I need to call the doctor. I'm going. I have to go. I have to go soon.
I am currently putting off a doctor's appointment as well.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that is why so many autistic and ADHD folks do sometimes end up with worse health issues than they should probably have, or like dental issues or vision issues. I put off going to the eye doctor until this past time to get like my eyes rechecked, until I literally could not see, and I was getting headaches every day. And I was like, I think my prescription is changed. I think it needs to be updated. Yeah. And the woman is like, at the eye doctor was like, how long has it been since you've been in? Who's been refilling your contacts prescription? And I'm like, Lens.com, they've just been refilling it. She's like, for 5 years, you're supposed to get it done every year. And I'm like, whoops. Sorry. There are a lot of people who aren't getting the care that they need because of all of the hurdles that I just described and even more,
right?
That go along with that.
And there are very harmful stigmas. And sorry to open this can of worms, but I didn't have health insurance for 10 years because, I have ADHD and I had like freelance jobs for 10 years because by the time I got insurance, I had a lot to tell my doctor. I had 10 years of stuff to catch up on, and not any of it was serious enough to bring me into the hospital. So we're talking about like little stuff that's like kind of wrong with me. So like, oh, my finger does this and it kind of hurts sometimes. It's not like, oh, you have this disease, we have to diagnose you, give treatment. It's just like, oh, I got these things and they make me go, and they hurt, and then like this happens when I breathe. And, and being neurodivergent, we have like all these weird connective tissue problems and like neurological problems. And my doctor ends up looking at me like I'm a hypochondriac. And he gets tired of hearing things that are kind of wrong with me and seeing all over the board, like they're all over the place, because it's my nervous system, and my nervous system affects everything. Yeah. So we're talking my kidneys, my joints, my head, my jaw, and when you're a doctor and you're looking at all these things, you're seeing them separately. You don't see them as somebody who like has an unsteady neurological system. Yeah. And what do we do for her? Mm-hmm. It's, you're a hypochondriac because you come in here for every little thing. Yeah. And so now I'm terrified because I've had so many doctors look at me like I'm just a head case. But last night when I was in the ER, I was bawling my eyes out in the ER because what Jarrett said to me was, don't worry, honey, I'm sure it's not that bad. I'm sure you won't have to have a spinal surgery. And I said to him, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about spinal surgery. I'm worried that the doctor's going to look at me and think I'm crazy again. I'm worried about that more than spinal surgery because it's gotten to that point. And it doesn't help that there's still a portion of the population that thinks ADHD is made up. oh, it's just an excuse for big pharma to give you pills.
Yeah.
And, oh, it's just hyper little kids, just kids being kids.
Yeah. We love a good soapbox moment. Yeah.
We do.
All of that is true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to refute any of that you just said. Segments. We're done talking about our main thing. Let's go into segment number 1.
You might be
Neurodivergent.
This one's pretty self-explanatory.
It is, yes.
This is not a diagnostic assessment or tool. We are not doctors. These are just funny, quirky things.
Characteristics.
That is like, these are fun. A lot of us have this thing.
Yeah, these are fun little characteristics and tendencies. Don't take them too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You might be neurodivergent if you buy multiple greeting cards because of all of the mistakes you're going to make or because of your terrible handwriting.
Okay.
Is this an autistic? I think that autistic people have cleaner handwriting than ADHD.
And I think if we look at our list here, you're definitely more scribbly than I am.
And I think, because this was kind of a video that went with like Jesse Johnson and like a few other creators. I think that people who have both, like prominently both, I think it changes like when they're medicated and when they're not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or when they're like overstimulated versus understimulated or hyperactive versus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my theory. You have nice handwriting.
I have nice handwriting. I am very particular about my handwriting and everything being like straight and equally spaced. I find it extremely annoying if words come like too close to the edge of the paper or like one line is obviously like way longer than the one before. It's just like a weird, I like to have everything like lined up straight, nice and neat. But I've never thought of buying multiple cards. I'm just really careful when I'm filling them out.
Well, I'm very highly dyslexic. I've never been officially diagnosed because I never looked into it. I didn't understand what it was. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, they showed us a paper and they showed us a bunch of like backwards letters and they're like, this is what dyslexia is. And I was like, oh, I don't have that. But what I didn't realize is it's also like jumping the gun and like putting words and letters before each other, like before they belong, and like mixing up your words. When I'm unmedicated, I'll do how are you today? I'll trip over my words constantly. And it's the same with my handwriting. So I'll be thinking of a word and then writing something else. Or like, my hand won't go as fast as my brain or it'll go in reverse order or something. But the two aren't connected. Yeah. And so I'll just make so many mistakes. Mm-hmm. But also I have sloppy handwriting for the most part. Yeah. If I'm feeling relaxed and focused, I can have cleaner handwriting. But
handwriting is a huge effort for my daughter who's 14 and she has ADHD and she's autistic and she knows I'm not like disclosing any secrets here because just the other day we were talking about it in the car and she was like having to make a project for school and she's like, Mom, it took me so long to like write this whole like thing on a poster she had to write. And she's like, because we have to write it really nice and neat. Aww. And I felt like she was kind of like joking about it, but it made me feel like bad because I'm like, God, it sucks because she can't help it that she's always just had messy her handwriting. If there's no I was about to say if there's no lines, but even if there are lines on the paper, her writing tends to go like
droop.
Yeah, or it just like doesn't stay. It's just like very all over the place, very messy. 2 words mashed together. It's just like, and she's always been like that. And it's like the school system is so dumb. And they're like, you have to write this way, nice and neat. And she's like probably just like sweating, just like trying to like get everything right.
Listen,
and I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry, kid. Like everything's gonna, by the time she's an adult, no one's even gonna be writing by hand anymore.
Right. You know what? I've actually rediscovered pencils. Neurodivergent folks, I don't know when the world just decided to have pens everywhere now. It's like the bottled water thing. Like, all of a sudden, we only drink water from a bottle instead of from the tap, And now all of a sudden, we only write with pens instead of pencils. ADHD people, dyslexics, pencils are your best friend. I just bought a bunch of pencils at the dollar store, bought a little pencil sharpener. Oh my gosh, it's a game changer. It's silly. I don't need to buy like multiple greeting cards. Just write it in pencil. Nobody cares.
Oh, because you can erase.
Yes.
You know what I discovered recently? A girl in my chemistry class that I was taking last semester had erasable pens. Yeah. Because I like the feeling of writing in pen. The feeling of a pencil on a paper is
it has to be like a dark too, and I have to sharpen it constantly because I only like it if it's got that one feeling on it.
Yeah, and mechanical pencils I most of the time push too hard because I want the letters to be dark and then the thing snaps and I'm like,
I hate
and then I do it again. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. But erasable pens have been a game changer.
The ones that I used, I think, as a kid didn't erase very well.
The ones they have now.
Yeah, they're good. Okay, I'll look into that.
They're good. Look into it. Okay, we tangented, but it's fine. Tangents are us. You might be neurodivergent if you have a favorite plate or bowl or fork or spoon or cup. I have a favorite plate, specifically that I like to eat my breakfast off of. I always like to use a big fork, but a small spoon. I don't like drinking out of glasses at all. Mugs are different, but I have specific mugs that I like, but like drinking actually out of glasses, I don't like it at all. I don't know why. I think that has to do with my OCD or like germophobia type of stuff.
I think
like
that's all connected.
the whole top is open. I need a situation like this.
Oh, yeah, I can't do those. Those will pour all over me.
Yeah.
I have to have a straw.
Keeps the germs off. Oh no, germs get all over your straw. When your straw is just up like this.
Here's how I combated my OCD germ thing.
Oh yeah.
Because remember, as a teenager, I was major germaphobe, major OCD.
Yeah.
I decided if I can't see it, if I can't smell it, if I can't taste it, and it doesn't make me sick, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
It freed me. And now I don't care. Yeah, so what? It hasn't made me sick yet. I don't care. I can't taste it.
Keyword.
Been doing it my whole life, 40 years.
Yeah, I definitely have like favorites of things and things that I don't like, things that I prefer in the kitchen, things that I don't prefer. I have a favorite pot that I like to cook out of. You know, all of those things, but just like
Totally.
I feel like that's a very
100%
neurodivergent
thing. Absolutely. I always like to eat out of like the kid plates and the kid silverware and like the everything that's like for kids I like to eat out of. My spoons are too big. What the fuck is this soup spoon? Why is it so wide?
I don't like a big spoon either.
Why do I need to open my mouth that wide?
Yeah, I like a little spoon.
Invasive.
I don't need that big of a bite. What am I eating that I need a huge ass bite like that? But I do like a big fork because with the fork you're stabbing stuff, and I feel like the small fork just doesn't give me enough. Like I don't have enough room to like get all the stuff on there.
Yeah, and you know what? My grandpa, you could always know when you were in my grandpa's house because all of his forks he would stretch out the prongs so that they were like this, so that he could get more on the fork.
That is hilarious.
That was amazing.
Oh
so,
God.
like, if you stole my grandpa's fork, everybody know it. Everybody like, that's a grandpa fork.
They'd
What
be
are you
like,
doing?
that's not your fork. How'd that get in your purse, Aunt Susie?
Yeah, and also, like, why do we use forks for salads? Talk about, like, totally an incompetent tool.
Yeah.
We need salad tongs. We need little mini tongs where we pinch it and put it in our
Yeah, most of the time when I'm eating a salad with a fork, I stab the stuff that I can stab, and then I pick and like place all of the other, because you always want, like when you're eating a salad, you want your bites to be like even.
Yeah.
Like I want a tomato on there, but I also want a little bit of crouton on there, but you can't like get all of it.
Yeah.
The stuff's falling off.
I think is it Dimitri Martin makes a joke about how, like, when you eat salad, you have to make little individual salads on each bite.
Oh my God, that's so true. I remember when I first started dating Gray, they came to my house, and after a few times coming over to eat and stuff, they were like, hey, can I ask you something? Why don't you have any big spoons? And I'm like, I don't like big spoons. And they were like, I exclusively like big spoons. And so this was like a big step in our relationship, because the next time I was at the store, I was like, I'm gonna buy a couple big spoons. And the next time they came over, I was like, I have a surprise. I got
Just for you.
And they were like, oh, it's official. You do like me. So I'm altering my utensil drawer for you. Yes.
Love it. I remember the day I was devastated as a teenager when I found out that the fork that I love to use is the salad fork. And I can only use it for salad.
Yeah.
Because we were big on, like, manners at the dinner table. My parents were really big into, like, I don't know.
Okay, I did not grow up in a house like that. So
I want you to be able to eat with the queen if you... Ugh.
Oh boy.
So, like, we had to have each proper fork in the right place. And so I couldn't use my dinner fork. I couldn't use my salad fork for dinner.
Don't do that to your children.
Rude. Okay. You might be neurodivergent if your laundry smells like mildew because you forgot it and rewashed it 3 times. Pretty standard ADHD thing. You wash it, you forget. You go, shit, it's moldy. Wash it again. Forget. Why do we always get to the washing stage, but that's it?
Yeah.
And then we never fold either.
Yeah.
So if you manage to get it in the dryer, it never gets folded. All your clothes are wrinkly. Get yourself a steamer. Steamer is a game changer.
Each stage of laundry is dangerous for an ADHD brain.
Yeah,
like getting the laundry to the washer, stage 1. Getting the laundry from the washer to the dryer, stage 2. Remembering it's in the dryer. Sometimes I totally forget that stuff's in the dryer until I'm like, where is that one shirt? And I'm like, oh, it's in the dryer. And then I'm like, oh, it's all wrinkly now because it's been sitting in the dryer for a week.
And surprise, now you have this task of, like, putting away all these clothes that you didn't have on your list before.
Yeah, I have a really cute chair in my bedroom that no one can ever see because it's always got laundry on it.
Yeah.
I just like put my laundry basket there and I'm like, cool, I'll fold that tomorrow. And then I don't fold it tomorrow and it's fine. I actually don't mind doing laundry. It's just sometimes I just truly feel like I don't have time for that task.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. I'm just like, I'll do it later.
Yeah. I let mine build up. I'll go a whole month without doing laundry. And I need to find a hamper that works for my brain. It needs to roll, because the whole like bending over and pulling this thing and having the socks fall down as you're walking, that's a big deal breaker for me. Like that's a big mental block. So I need something that rolls so I can very easily, cleanly, with a broken back, move my laundry over to the washer. And it needs to have compartments so I don't have to, again, pull everything out, sprawl it all over my floor, and have to categorize it.
I love doing that. That's the autism. Sort by color. A lot of people don't do that anymore. I still do that. Just because I like to sort things, though.
I do it weird. I do warm colors and cool colors.
Oh.
I do blacks,
Okay.
like blacks and grays, because I have a lot of those. And then I have like reds and oranges, and I have purples and blues.
Oh, okay, I don't have that much color in my wardrobe, so it's always just lights and darks. That's all I got.
Yeah, I've noticed that I really like have a lot of pinks and blues. And so I really just started separating, like if it's pinkish, it goes here. If it's bluish, it goes here, because that's like my whole, people constantly are like, oh, your such and such matches your hair. Your such and such matches your such and such. And I'm like, it's totally unintentional. I just like those colors.
Okay. You might be neurodivergent if you can feel certain sounds.
Oh boy.
So for example, if someone opens a soda can, that is sharp. That like hurts me in a sharp way. There's different sounds that like, some are good, not all are bad, but there are sounds, like I can feel most sounds.
My dad used to pick out, he'd call them killer S's, when someone has S's that go this. Oh god. Oh, it stings in my head.
Yeah. I've always really, really despised loud vehicles, motorcycles or cars or trucks, whatever it is. Like, why are you making your vehicle louder? I know there's people out there that do this on purpose.
I will never
but
understand.
That noise to me feels like someone punching me in the stomach.
Yeah.
Like,
Agreed.
it honestly feels like a gut punch. And that's this, I get like the wind knocked out of me almost. Like, there are just certain sounds that I'm like, I cannot handle this sound. It feels so awful in my body. As I said, though, there's the opposite of that, where it's like, there's good sounds, too. Certain sounds, I'm like,
certain sounds are yummy.
I love that.
Oh, have you ever listened to a peppermint patty? Like, if you break one open in your ear, it goes whoosh. It's really nice.
Oh, that, food ASMR videos are really good. Like, a lot of them are really good sounds. I watched one the other day where it was someone like buttering a toast and then like and it's like crunch if you slice it. And I was like, yeah, that was a good one. I have 2 pigs. For those of you who don't know, I have 2 pet pigs. Their little noises are very soothing to me. They have a lot of little like grunts and little like cute noises that pigs make that I'm just like,
animal noises.
That feels like really like warm right here. I'm just like, oh yeah.
Stubby will bent and grind his beak. He'll just like, and it's just like, it says comfort to me. It's just like, oh, I'm comfortable and I'm just at home hanging out, and it's almost like telling me he loves me. Like a cat purring.
Cat purring, that's a good noise. Yeah, you can feel that. Like, but I find that like the noises that I feel the most in my body are probably like negative noises that evoke negative feelings. Other feelings are just like, oh, that just is nice, and it's kind of like relaxing to listen to. But the bad noises are the ones that's like, that felt like someone stabbing me. Like literally, it's just not a good feeling.
Yeah.
So
I do not like the distant, someone's bass up too high, rattle the windows vibration thing. Listen, if I'm in the car with you and we're bumping the bass and it feels cool because we're listening to the song, but if there's no context and I just feel this repetitive vibration in my body, you're my enemy.
About it. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I am there with you. I am the person who used to go to raves back in the day and stand probably dangerously close to the speaker because I was like the bass. But I'm there on my own volition.
Yeah, and you have context with the rest of the music that's going on.
Exactly.
I only have that bass thing. I don't know when it started, when it's going to end. Yeah. I don't know when the rhythm's going to change. I don't want it to be here.
It's shaking me inside. Stop. I don't like it. Please. Yeah, I don't like it. I just really don't like when other people impose their noises on me. Yeah. It's the same with the loud vehicles on purpose. It's the same with the loud bass on purpose. Like, if we're out in a public place and you're playing music really, like at the beach when people play music really loudly, if I feel like having my music up loud, I don't ever have my windows down when I'm doing that. Just because to me, when someone else is doing that, it feels really assaultive. It's so arrogant to me that someone would think that I want to listen to their music. You know? Like why do you assume that everyone wants to listen to your music? Do you really think that highly of your taste? Like that you have a taste that is so exquisite that it's universal? Nobody does.
Nobody
I know. I don't know how people don't think about that kind of stuff and get like almost like I would be embarrassed if I went to the beach and my music was blaring. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm such a I don't know. Sorry anyone who does that, but don't just stop.
Yeah, don't do that. Not here anyway.
Oh god. Segment 2. I'm so obsessed with you. This segment will just toss out a couple of things that we've been either currently or formerly hyper-focused, hyper-fixated on, or like a special interest or something like that.
Yeah, I think all neurodivergencies have an element of hyperfixation, right? We all get obsessed with something, whether it's temporarily or over our lifetime or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mine was cactus farming.
Oh,
so I was very big on, well, still am, but I haven't put a lot of energy into it lately, but I'm very big on dry farming because I see how big of a problem the water situation is here in California. I do also want to work on like water filtration and like doing distilled water and stuff from solar panels. But until we get to a point where we have more desalination plants, I would like to start farming things that don't need irrigation. And so I started growing cacti. Just the prickly pear, because I wanted to see how quickly it grew, how quickly could I get a harvest from it if I were to farm it without water. And they still grow without water. I mean, obviously they need a little bit of water. You got to throw them a bone here and there, but they don't need to be like irrigated. And so then I tried making a bunch of snacks out of cactus and all these cool little products out of cactus because I wanted cactus to be the new thing. I still do. I just don't put much energy into it. I let my cactus grow out there, and one day I'll hop back on that train.
You probably will. You'll probably pick it back up. My first one is pour painting. So this is not painting badly or poorly. It's like pour, P-O-U-R. I'm sure
not painting the poor.
not painting the poor either. Just like over here, I'm painting myself. No, it's where, for those of you that don't know, it's where you take acrylic paints, you mix them with different types of mediums. Different people use different things to the point where it can get to a consistency where you can pour it onto a canvas in certain ways and whatever, and then it makes that you like move it around. It makes like a cool painting. This was a hyperfixation. This was an ADHD hyperfixation for a hot minute. For one, I discovered it during quarantine. Mm-hmm. So I had nothing else to do. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It looks so fun. And then what do? You go to Michael's with your mask on and you get all the supplies and you spend a little bit of money on that.
Did you start a website?
And yeah, I did all of the things that you do when you're like, oh my God, this is my entire personality and life now. Mm-hmm. I'm a poor artist. That has a double meaning, and they're both true. So I didn't consider a few things. First of all, the fact that I do not like having anything on my hands that's not supposed to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Anything like slimy, sticky, dried paint on my hands or wet paint on my hands. So sensory-wise, it was very difficult because it was, with pour painting, you're getting stuff on yourself and stuff. It's a messy thing. Also, I didn't consider the mess factor because I just don't like mess. And so I picked the messiest, probably kind of art that exists. And I'm like, cool, you just pour a bunch of it and it goes everywhere. So I'm like, okay, there's a huge mess every time I do this. It gets all over me and I hate the feeling and I have to immediately go wash my hands like 50,000 times while I'm doing this. And the cost.
Oh, boy.
Because acrylic paints are not super cheap in the first place, but then you have to use so much of it to...
And you waste so much.
Yeah, like you have to pour a painting, you have to like mix a big old cup of paint and, most of it is going off of the canvas, to be honest. And then you can't use it again since it's mixed in with other colors and stuff by the time it gets... So I was just like, this is really wasteful. It's really messy. I hate this. I can't handle my hands being dirty. It didn't work out for many reasons. Now I have a bunch of paintings.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know what to do with them. I feel wasteful throwing them away. They're not good enough to like sell or anything. So I'm just like, I don't know. It did start me with painting in general. Like I started painting with acrylics just like in a normal way with like a paintbrush. And I do really enjoy that when I make time for it. But the hyperfixation of part painting definitely was a short-lived little stint that I was like, this is a thing and it's gonna be a thing. And oh crap, now it's not a thing. And I have all these paints and canvases and
that's so funny.
Regret.
Oh, my obsession recently is neurotransmitters, not just serotonin and dopamine. So what I've discovered is right now I'm in the middle of taking one of my favorite classes which is psychopharmacology of alcohol and drugs, because I'm about to get my degree in addictions. And I'm learning about how all the drugs affect certain neurotransmitters. And for those of you who aren't familiar, neurotransmitters are basically, I'm going to give you the short version, but eventually I'm going to do a whole neurons thing, and I'll explain it in detail. But just for intents and purposes, neurotransmitters are basically hormones. They make you feel different things. So if you have a lot of serotonin, it makes you feel real good and pleasurable and relaxed and happy. If you have a lot of dopamine, it makes you feel very satisfied. If you have a lot of norepinephrine, you feel like really ramped up and high energy and kind of stressed out. Now I've noticed that those three are the ones we really focus on with drugs, but also with disorders. I think that there's so many more involved, especially with ADHD, that we're not giving enough attention to. And I think those are the difference between when I talk about the different traits of ADHD, like my absent-mindedness, is from too much norepinephrine, because the stimuli, every little stimuli is grabbing my attention and stressing me out, right? So there's all these other neurotransmitters that we don't think about, like glutamate and, gosh, I can't even think of the other ones, but they also have different mechanisms that are happening. And I think anytime something feels good, we automatically pin it on serotonin or dopamine. And anytime something feels high energy or stressed out, we pin it on norepinephrine. But there's also epinephrine. There's also there's all these other things that could be going on. And I don't think that we're looking, we don't have a keen enough eye onto how they differ. I noticed this when people describe dopamine, they describe it as pleasurable. And I'm like, it's not pleasurable though. You're thinking of serotonin. Dopamine is more like resolve, satisfying, like something that started with anxiety. It's almost like a lack of anxiety. You resolved your anxiety, and that's dopamine. It makes you stop worrying about it. It makes you quit. You're like, oh, I'm done. That's what dopamine is. That's why gambling is so addictive. We're constantly asking a question. I love slot machines. Every time I push the slot machine, it's, am I going to win something? And then it resolves, yes or no. That's dopamine over and over and over again, because there's something that's up in the air and it resolves. Something up in the air, it resolves. That's that's not pleasure. So there's all these other little kind of nuances that I don't think that we're paying enough attention to. And so I've been diving in hardcore to be like, oh, but this one's associated with cocaine. But this one's associated with, Wellbutrin. So why don't they do the same thing? That was really what sparked the rabbit hole, is for one of my assignments, they're saying, oh, what does cocaine do to the brain and why is it so addictive and stuff? And the narrative is, oh, cocaine's a stimulant because it's a dopamine reuptake inhibitor, meaning that it keeps more dopamine in your system. And I'm like, okay, but so is Wellbutrin. And Wellbutrin is not addictive and it's not a stimulant. So there's other things going on here, and we need to be specific about what's going on if we're going to actually start treating things and separating them as disorders.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Okay.
Look into glutamate.
Yeah. Yours are more serious. That's you're going to change the world with cacti and neurotransmitters, and I'm like, poor painting. And my next one is pretty not serious either. I feel like this was my first true special interest when I was a kid, and it lasted for years and years and years. I was obsessed with Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah. Who wasn't?
I don't even remember how it started, but I remember from a very young age really liking Michael Jackson's music, videos, everything. And it just became this intense thing where I had to know everything about him and his life. And then it morphed into a fixation more with the Jacksons as a whole and the Jackson 5. And I had, there was a really great documentary that was done on the Jackson 5 when I was in my preteen years that I watched numerous times. Yep. I knew everything about the Jacksons. I would listen to Jackson 5. I would listen to Michael Jackson. There was an interview that he did with Oprah that I recorded on VHS because I'm old, and this was how you used to have to record things, as you would set your VCR. And I would watch that thing over and over. I had his history DVD set, or it was on VHS when I first got it, but where you could watch the videos from the history album.
Yep.
My dad would actually really make fun of me really bad because I would be so repetitive. I was obsessed. I would watch the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
But that was my first true, real
I paralleled with you. I was there too.
You were?
I walked around I think I was 3, and I had a sticker book of just like Michael Jackson stickers, and I would walk around telling everybody that I was going to marry him. And I was a dancer and my whole life, and that was always like the one that like I always went to as far as my style, as far as who I looked up to, even my whole like life's purpose of I want to influence people all over the world. And oh my gosh, Michael Jackson was my hero, and when he died, I lost it. I lost my shit.
For sure.
I was at work and I had to like excuse myself and scream cry in the back room because I was fucking devastated.
I think people who are fans of Michael Jackson like probably remember I remember exactly where I was too when I found out that he died, and it was a very sad.
Yeah. And then the next couple years I kept going. I kept going to like the local theaters on the anniversaries of his death to like watch the films and stuff and like celebrate with fellow Michael Jacksonians.
Michael Jacksonians. I feel like a lot of people, like he was just so iconic, and there were so many people around the world who like really loved him and were obsessed with him. So my brother was born when I was 6. Okay. And my parents were like, hey, we love you. Do you want to pick your brother's middle name? And guess what my brother's middle name is?
Michael.
It's Michael.
Oh, that's cute.
I still have a gigantic bad poster that's like framed and stuff. It's in my garage right now because I don't really know where to hang it in my new house. But I'm like, now I'm kind of getting a little bit obsessed with his daughter, not in like a creepy way, but she has a beautiful voice. And if you have not listened to her music, she does a lot of like acoustic guitar type of things. I think she's coming out with an album soon, or maybe it already came out, I don't know, but she is ultra talented too.
Yeah. Gorgeous girl. So I do feel like I have to say this just because I am a huge advocate for child sex abuse. In my teenage years were when the allegations came out about Michael Jackson and molestation, and it all just seemed kind of convenient, and it all seemed like, here's this megastar who's a little off. And here's another reason I loved Michael Jackson is because he was unconventional. Mm-hmm. And he would just be like, hey, we used to have sleepovers, and he's like had Neverland, and was like, it doesn't mean anything. We just hang out and sleep and, be kids, because he felt like he was a kid himself. Mm-hmm. So I always like defended him, like Mama Bear defended him anytime somebody said something about the molestation accusations. Because it was, the news was just what you saw on TV and in the newspapers. It wasn't like on your phone. You didn't get the nitty-gritty details of every single thing. But then, honestly, when the last one came out, I think, was it during COVID? Was it the Oprah, or I don't remember what it was, but it was these 2 guys in particular who were kids who followed him around and were his friends, went into great, gruesome detail about what went on with Michael Jackson, and that was when I was like, oh, I believe them. And that hurt. And the thing is, like, I'm of the mind where I don't paint people as monsters. I'm certainly not going to condone what he did. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. But what I think we miss is that perpetrators often are victims, and they need help. And we need to make sure that they don't turn into perpetrators. Because I think it's pretty obvious that Michael was a victim himself. And now he, passed it on to these boys, which is horrible. Yeah. And so, I had a lot of those things kind of live in my head all at once. And so every time I hear Michael Jackson, there's just kind of a little bit of a, but anyway.
I have a similar view as you. As when it first all came out, I was like, no, like, to me it was like, okay, these people want money, obviously, like, they're being coached or something, because there were a lot of people that were like, no, I've been there and he's never done anything. Yeah. So it was like a weird, like...
And I was, at the time, like, I was an adult that acted like a kid. Yeah. I was, like, wearing Care shit when I was in my 20s. And I was like, no, you just don't get us, Because I saw that and I related to it hardcore, because there was nobody else in the media who was like that. Yeah. And so to find out that it was, like... Yeah. I don't know.
I think
it was pretty devastating.
He was clearly a troubled individual. And it's always really difficult when, we've had this happen multiple times with people in the public eye. Bill Cosby was another one that devastated me, because he was just a person who I adored growing up. I loved The Cosby Show, and that show was so important to so many people for so many reasons, like the Black community, for one, like seeing, like that was the first real example of like a Black family on TV that was consumed by everyone. It
Right.
wasn't just like,
So
this show is for
wholesome,
Black
so
people.
healing,
Like, it was like everyone loved the Cosby Show.
It was kind of healing for society. It kind of pushed the needle.
But same thing with like, and then recently like Marilyn Manson, a bunch of stuff came out. Like this happens, you didn't have heard about that. Oh God, I was also really sad about that. And it's like, shoot, the J.K. Rowling. So many people love Harry Potter and her being like a freaking TERF, and my partner who is trans and my son who is trans both being like huge Harry Potter fans and feeling so conflicted of like, am I still allowed to like Harry Potter?
Dude,
I'm a trans person. Like,
most of her audience, I'm sure, is neurodivergent because it's so like imaginative fantasy.
So you get caught in these weird positions where it's like, shoot, like I love what I thought this person was and I love what this person created. And am I still allowed to love this and condone the act or condone the mindset or condone like whatever it is? Or, I mean, not condone, condemn.
Big difference.
The act or both C words. You know, it's like, I personally feel like, yes, I had this was the controversial episode on my personal podcast where I was talking about Elon Musk, and I'm like, I freaking love SpaceX. I have to love SpaceX. I'm a space nerd. Like, they're doing so much cool shit. I can love SpaceX without being on board with Elon.
Totally.
And
I love the Tesla. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love the Tesla.
And there's a lot of good things happening with his companies, and it's like moving the world in like a positive. And I'm like, I'm allowed to be okay with that without being like, Elon's great. Like,
we have to get creative about how do we support it without supporting them. But now that Michael's gone, like, we're supporting his family.
Yeah, and his kids seem great.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that was another long tangent, but
but honestly, I think it's very relevant because I think a lot of neurodivergent people are prone to that kind of like abuse and major trauma and you know, holding two things in our heads at once, and that kind of battle. So
anyway, okay, that's it for this episode.
Thanks for hanging with us, folks, and being weird with us.
Yeah,
you better stay weird this whole week.
All right, guys. See you next time.